The COLOSSUS AKNs. The Terran space vessel Hyperion hung against the backdrop of distant stars like a metallic leviathan. At 12 kilometers from bow to stern, the Titan-class vessel represented humanity's ultimate achievement in space engineering and military might. Its hull gleamed with a titanium-platinum alloy that absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them, making the behemoth somehow even more intimidating in its subtle presence. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the viewport of the command deck, her tall frame silhouetted against the starscape. At 45, the silver streaks in her close-cropped black hair testified to 2 decades of command experience, while the artificial left eye, a sophisticated replacement after a pirate attack in the Jupiter colonies, gave her an intensity that few could withstand in direct conversation. "Status report," she said, her voice calm but carrying the unmistakable note of authority. Commander Darius Kimal, her executive officer, looked up from his station. His dark complexion was accentuated by the blue light of his terminal, and the neural implant at his temple pulsed softly as it processed ship data directly into his consciousness. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've completed the survey of the outer rim of the Helios system. Engineering reports the quantum drive is operating at 98% efficiency after the recalibration." Voss nodded. This deep space exploration mission was pushing the boundaries of human expansion. Earth was overcrowded despite the terraform efforts on Mars and the settlements throughout the solar system. Humanity needed room to grow, and the Hyperion was designed to find it and defend it if necessary. "Dr. Nakamura, anything interesting from your department?" Voss asked. The ship's chief scientist adjusted her glasses, a personal affectation in an age where ocular implants were common. "Actually, yes. We're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations from the 4th planet. The pattern has a mathematical precision that suggests artificial origin." This was unexpected. Initial scans had shown no evidence of advanced civilization in this system. How did we miss this before? "It only became active approximately 40 minutes ago," Nakamura replied, her expression thoughtful, almost as if it activated in response to our presence. Voss considered this information carefully. First contact protocols were clear. Observe from a distance, attempt non-intrusive communication, and avoid any action that might appear threatening. But those protocols assumed roughly equal technological capabilities. The Hyperion was designed to project power. Massive, heavily armed, and virtually impregnable. Not exactly the ideal vessel for a friendly greeting. "Helm, take us into high orbit around the 4th planet," she ordered. "Tactical, passive scans only. Let's get a better look without appearing aggressive." As the Hyperion approached the world, a sphere of swirling amber clouds over copper-toned continents, the energy signature grew stronger. "Captain," Communications Officer Liu called out, his fingers dancing across his console. "We're receiving a transmission. Definitely artificial, structured data. Can we decode it?" "Working on it. The universal translator is finding patterns, but it'll take time." Voss nodded. "Put it through the speakers. Let's hear what we're dealing with." A series of melodic tones filled the bridge, rising and falling in complex patterns. It was hauntingly beautiful, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but with a precision that suggested language. "Recording and analyzing," Liu confirmed. "The AI is starting to identify linguistic structures." The bridge crew waited in tense silence. This was the moment every explorer dreamed of. First contact with an alien intelligence. Humanity had spread throughout the solar system, but had yet to encounter another sentient species. After 15 minutes of processing, the AI began translating fragments. "Unknown vessel. Identify purpose. Approach with caution." "They're cautious," Kimal observed. "That's promising. Means they're rational." "Or they're afraid," Voss countered. "Respond with standard greeting package. Mathematical sequences, basic scientific constants, and simple visuals explaining our peaceful intent." As they waited for a response, Sensors detected movement from the planet's surface. Captain, multiple small craft launching. Tactical Officer Rivera reported. 40. No, 50 vessels. Formation suggests organized response. Defensive posture only, Voss ordered firmly. No active targeting. Shield status. Shields at full strength, but inactive, Rivera confirmed. The alien vessels approached cautiously. They were elegant crafts with organic curves that suggested advanced design principles beyond human engineering. Each measured no more than 200 meters in length. Compared to the Hyperion, they were like sparrows approaching an eagle. "We're receiving clearer transmission," Liu announced. "Visual data incoming." The main screen shifted to show an alien being. It had a slender, almost ethereal frame with 4 upper limbs and iridescent skin that shimmered with patterns of light. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated a narrow face, and delicate gill-like structures pulsed gently along its neck. "Translation improving," Liu said. "They call themselves the Astrali. This one is their equivalent of an ambassador or senior representative." The alien spoke, its voice melodic and calm. The translator converted its speech with only slight delays. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Astrali space uninvited. Your craft is of unprecedented size and capability. Explain your presence and intentions immediately." Voss stepped forward. "I am Captain Ilara Voss of the Terran space vessel Hyperion. We are explorers from a planet called Earth, seeking knowledge and peaceful contact with other intelligent species. We apologize for our uninvited entry into your territory. We were unaware this system was inhabited by a spacefaring civilization." The Astrali ambassador's skin shifted to deeper blues and greens. "Your vessel's size suggests warfare capabilities beyond anything in our experience. Are you invaders?" "No," Voss replied firmly. "The Hyperion is large because it carries everything we need for long-term exploration far from our home, including thousands of personnel. We have defensive capabilities, yes, but our mission is peaceful." The alien's skin rippled with patterns that the translator couldn't interpret. "You will remain in your current position while we verify your claims. Any movement toward our world will be considered hostile." The communication ended abruptly. "They're scared of us," Kemal said quietly. Voss nodded. "Wouldn't you be? Imagine if something 12 kilometers long suddenly appeared in Earth orbit." "Their vessels are maintaining distance," Rivera reported. "No weapon signatures detected, but they've positioned themselves to monitor us from all angles." Dr. Nakamura approached the captain, tablet in hand. "Their technology is impressive. Those ships exhibit propulsion characteristics that suggest mastery of gravitational manipulation well beyond our capabilities." "But," Voss prompted, hearing the hesitation in her scientist's voice, "but the energy output is surprisingly efficient. Clean, no waste radiation. They're technologically superior to us in many ways, yet they're clearly intimidated by our size." Chief Engineer Takahashi interjected from his station. "Size isn't everything, but mass and resource allocation matter. Their ships are elegant, but I'd bet my last credit they're lightly armed. Perhaps their technological path emphasized efficiency over brute force." The standoff continued for hours. The Astrali vessels maintained their positions, never approaching too close but never withdrawing. Occasionally they transmitted requests for information about human biology, technology, and social structures, which Voss authorized Dr. Nakamura to answer within security parameters. "They're studying us," Nakamura observed. "Their questions are sophisticated, focused on our environmental adaptations, technological evolution, even our art and music." "What are they looking for?" Voss wondered aloud. "I believe they're trying to determine if we're a threat," Nakamura replied. "Not just militarily, but culturally and ecologically." 26 hours into the standoff, sensors detected a new energy signature, massive and approaching rapidly from the system's edge. "Captain," Rivera called out, tension evident in his voice. "Large objects entering the system at high velocity. Energy signatures don't match Astrali technology. I count 7 vessels, each approximately 3 kilometers in length. The Australi fleet suddenly broke formation, half the vessels accelerating toward the new arrivals while the rest maintained their positions around the Hyperion. "We're receiving an urgent transmission from the Australi ambassador," Liu reported. The alien appeared on screen again, its skin now pale and pulsing rapidly with patterns of red and orange. "Terran vessel, our space is being invaded by a hostile species we call the Raxor. They are predators who consume all in their path. We recommend you withdraw immediately for your own safety." Voss exchanged glances with Kimal. "They're warning us, not ordering us to leave." "The Australi fleet is outnumbered and outgunned," Rivera observed, studying his tactical display. "Sensors indicate the incoming Raxor vessels are heavily armed with directed energy weapons and what appear to be kinetic accelerators." Voss straightened her uniform jacket. "Hail the Australi ambassador." When the alien appeared again, Voss spoke clearly and confidently. "Ambassador, we detect the threat approaching your people. The Hyperion was built to protect humanity from threats just like this. If you'll permit us, we stand ready to assist in your defense." The Australi's skin flickered with rapid patterns of blue and green, which the translator interpreted as surprise and cautious hope. "You would risk your vessel for a species you've just met?" Voss smiled slightly. "Where I come from, we have a saying, 'The enemy of my enemy is my friend.' Besides, if these Raxor are as dangerous as you say, we'd rather face them here alongside allies than alone later." The Australi was silent for a long moment before responding. "We accept your offer, Captain Voss. But be warned, the Raxor have conquered 3 systems before ours. Their technology is formidable, and they show no mercy." "Neither do we, when threatened," Voss replied. "Prepare your fleet to coordinate with ours. It's time to show these Raxor what happens when they pick the wrong system to invade." As the communication ended, Voss turned to her crew. "Battle stations. Shields to full power. Weapon systems online." She paused, looking at each of her senior officers. "Today, we make history in more ways than one. Today, humanity stands not just for itself, but for another species that needs our help." Throughout the massive vessel, alarm klaxons sounded as 12,000 personnel prepared for humanity's first interstellar battle. Shadow of the HFY Sci-Fi. The Raxor fleet emerged from hyperspace like predators from the deep. 7 massive warships, their hulls black as the void itself, bristling with weapons arrays and covered in what appeared to be armored scales. Each vessel resembled a monstrous sea creature from Earth's ancient oceans, with forward sections that flared outward like the head of a hammerhead shark. On the command deck of the Hyperion, Captain Voss watched the tactical display with practiced calm. The Australi Defense Fleet, nearly 60 vessels, looked pitifully small against the Raxor invaders. "Analysis," she ordered. Tactical Officer Rivera's fingers flew across his console. "Raxor vessels are comparable to heavy cruisers by our standards. Not as large as the Hyperion, but significantly more massive than anything the Australi have. Their weapons are powering up, primarily directed energy weapons and what appear to be mass drivers. Weaknesses? Difficult to tell at this range. Their hulls have some kind of regenerative property, almost biological in nature. But every organism has vulnerable points." Voss nodded. "Communications, patch me through to the Australi fleet commander." The alien appeared on screen, its iridescent skin now pulsing with patterns of determined blue. "Captain Voss, the Raxor have begun their assault pattern. They will target our orbital stations first, then our planetary defenses. I recommend you withdraw your vessels to a defensive position around your world," Voss said. "Let the Hyperion take point against the Raxor fleet." "They will overwhelm you," the Australi commander warned. Voss allowed herself a small smile. "They can try. Trust me, Commander. You haven't yet seen what this ship can do." After a moment's hesitation, the Australi agreed. "Very well. My vessels will protect our homeworld while yours engages the enemy. We will support as we can." As the communication ended, Voss turned to her executive officer. Strategic assessment, Commander Kemal. Kemal studied the tactical display. The Raxor clearly haven't encountered anything like the Hyperion before. They're maintaining their standard assault formation, designed to overwhelm smaller vessels with coordinated fire. They don't see us as a primary threat yet. Then let's adjust their perspective, Voss said. Helm, set intercept course. Full combat thrust. Tactical, power up the Nova array but keep it masked. I want that as our surprise. The massive engines of the Hyperion roared to life, propelling the 12-kilometer warship directly toward the Raxor fleet. The sheer audacity of a single vessel, even one as large as the Hyperion. Challenging 7 warships might have seemed like suicide to observers. But the Titan-class vessel had been built for exactly this kind of scenario, facing overwhelming odds with overwhelming force. Enemy vessels adjusting course to intercept, Rivera reported. They're redirecting from the Astrali homeworld. We have their attention. Shields at maximum. Prepare all weapons batteries, Voss ordered. But hold fire until my command. As the distance closed, the crew could now see the Raxor ships clearly on the view screen. Their hulls weren't simply black. They seemed to absorb light, making their true dimensions difficult to gauge. Only the glowing red weapons ports stood out against the void-like surface. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Liu announced with surprise. Put them through, Voss ordered. The view screen shifted to show a being that sent a chill through the command deck. The Raxor commander had a face that resembled an earth mantis, with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Its chitinous exoskeleton gleamed with a metallic quality, and cybernetic implants were visible along its neck and skull. Unknown vessel, it said, its voice translated into a harsh, clicking sound. You protect the Astrali. Unwise. Submit and be assimilated. Resist and be consumed. Voss stood tall. This is Captain Ilara Voss of the TSV Hyperion, representing the United Earth Alliance. We don't submit to threats. The Astrali system is under our protection. Leave now or face the consequences. The Raxor's mandibles clicked rapidly, perhaps their version of laughter. Your vessel is impressive, but alone. We are 7. Calculation is simple. You will make excellent resources when broken down. The transmission cut abruptly. Charming, Kemal muttered. They're powering weapons, Rivera warned. All vessels targeting us. Voss's artificial eye glinted. Now they'll learn about human mathematics. Evasive pattern delta. All forward batteries, commence firing. Target their lead vessel's propulsion systems. The Hyperion's massive hull suddenly erupted with energy as hundreds of weapon ports opened simultaneously. Streams of superheated plasma and magnetically accelerated projectiles raced toward the lead Raxor vessel. The energy output was staggering, enough to power a small city for a year, released in seconds. The Raxor ships returned fire immediately, their red energy beams slicing through space toward the Hyperion. The human vessel's shields flared brilliant blue where the beams struck, absorbing and dissipating the enormous energy. Shields holding at 92%, Rivera reported. Their weapons are powerful, but our defensive systems are compensating. On the view screen, they watched as their own barrage hammered the lead Raxor vessel. Its dark hull absorbed some of the impacts, but where the concentrated fire focused on its engine section, the alien material began to glow and rupture. They're more vulnerable at their propulsion nodes, Rivera observed, recalibrating targeting systems. The battle quickly escalated as the Raxor adapted to the unexpected resistance. 3 of their vessels moved to flank the Hyperion, while the others maintained frontal assault. Their coordinated fire began to strain even the advanced shields of the human warship. Shields down to 73%, Rivera announced. They're learning our defensive patterns. Voss nodded. Then let's show them something new. Execute maneuver Prometheus. Prepare the Nova array. The Hyperion's maneuvering thrusters fired in a complex sequence, rolling the massive vessel to present its broadside to the enemy formation. Along its hull, previously hidden weapon ports opened to reveal the Nova Array, humanity's most destructive conventional weapon system. Nova Array charged and ready, Rivera confirmed. Target the 3 vessels attempting to flank us, Voss ordered. Fire. White-hot beams of concentrated energy erupted from the Hyperion's hull, so intense they appeared to distort the space around them. When they struck the Raxor vessels, the effect was catastrophic. The alien hulls, which had resisted conventional weapons, could not withstand the focused power of the Nova Array. One vessel's midsection simply ceased to exist, the front and rear portions drifting apart as secondary explosions rippled through its structure. Another lost its entire propulsion section, left spinning helplessly in space. The third suffered less visible damage, but immediately broke off its attack vector. Direct hits, Rivera reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. 2 enemy vessels effectively neutralized, a third damage. But the Hyperion had revealed its primary weapon, and the remaining Raxor ships quickly adjusted their tactics. They spread out further, making it impossible for the Nova Array to target more than 1 vessel at a time, and intensified their coordinated fire on specific sections of the human vessel's shields. Shield failure imminent in Section 23, Rivera warned. They're concentrating fire on our starboard weapons array. Voss remained calm. Rotate shield harmonics. Divert auxiliary power to affected sections. Continue evasive maneuvers. Despite these countermeasures, a combined volley from 3 Raxor vessels finally overloaded a section of the Hyperion's shields. Enemy fire struck the hull directly, tearing through several outer compartments. Hull breach in sections 15 through 19, Kemal reported. Emergency bulkheads engage. Damage control teams responding. Voss gripped the command rail tightly. Status of the Nova Array. Operational, but power fluctuations due to damage to the distribution grid, Rivera replied. We need 2 minutes to stabilize. We may not have 2 minutes, Kemal warned, pointing to the tactical display where the Raxor vessels were maneuvering for another concentrated attack. Voss made a quick decision. Communications, signal the Astrali fleet. Tell them to target this set of coordinates. She indicated a position on the tactical display where 3 Raxor vessels were clustering for their next attack run. Moments later, the Astrali ships launched what appeared to be relatively small projectiles toward the specified location. The Raxor vessels clearly didn't consider them a significant threat, focusing their attention on the Hyperion. What are those? Kemal asked. I'm not sure, Voss replied, but based on the Astrali's technological profile, I'm betting on something clever rather than powerful. As the projectiles neared the Raxor formation, they suddenly expanded into swirling vortices of energy that enveloped the enemy vessels. The Raxor ships didn't appear damaged, but their movements became sluggish, their weapon fire sporadic. Gravitational disruption fields, Dr. Nakamura said with admiration. They're distorting local spacetime to interfere with the Raxor systems. Nova Array stabilized, Rivera announced. Voss didn't hesitate. Target the disoriented vessels. Fire. Once again, the devastating beams lashed out, this time striking 2 more Raxor ships with catastrophic results. With 3 vessels destroyed and 2 crippled, the remaining 2 Raxor warships began to retreat. They're breaking off, Rivera confirmed, accelerating to what appears to be their version of faster-than-light speed. Pursuit? Kemal asked. Voss shook her head. No, we've made our point, and the Hyperion needs repairs. She turned to communications. Signal the Astrali. Let them know the immediate threat has been neutralized. The view screen flickered to show the Astrali commander, its skin now pulsing with bright patterns of blue and gold that the translator interpreted as astonishment and gratitude. Captain Voss, what your vessel accomplished is beyond our understanding. You faced a force that has terrorized our region of space for generations, and you defeated them decisively. Not without help, Voss acknowledged. Your gravitational disruptors gave us the opening we needed. "A small contribution compared to your sacrifice," the Australi replied. "We would be honored if you would bring your vessel to our orbital station for repairs. Our technicians are at your disposal, though your technology clearly exceeds our own in many areas." Voss nodded. "We accept your offer, Commander, and perhaps this marks the beginning of a productive relationship between our peoples." As the Hyperion limped toward the Australi homeworld, escorted by their fleet, Voss looked around at her damaged command deck. They had survived humanity's first interstellar battle, protected a new ally, and demonstrated that despite being newcomers to the galactic stage, humans were not to be underestimated. "Communications," she said, "prepare a full report for Earth Command. I believe we've just changed humanity's place in the universe." The human factor. The orbital shipyards of Astralon Prime glittered like a crown of jewels above the Amber World. Here, the TSV Hyperion underwent repairs after the battle with the Raxor fleet. The massive human vessel dwarfed the Australi facilities, requiring the aliens to develop entirely new docking and repair protocols to accommodate their unexpected allies. In a transparent observation dome protruding from the main Australi station, Captain Voss stood beside High Emissary Talith, the highest-ranking Australi official. They watched as teams of human engineers worked alongside Australi technicians, an impromptu cultural exchange born of necessity. "Your people adapt quickly," Talith observed, skin pulsing with patterns of blue appreciation. "Our technical methodologies are quite different, yet your engineers integrated with ours within days." Voss nodded. "Humans have always excelled at adaptation. It's how we survived on a planet with extreme climate variations and countless natural disasters. Yet your technology is both more advanced and more aggressive than ours in many areas," Talith said. "This is most curious to us. The Raxor achieved dominance through biological absorption of other species' knowledge. The Centauri Confederation builds by consensus and incremental improvement. But humans, the alien skin rippled with a pattern the translators struggle to interpret. You build as if always preparing for war, even as you speak of peace." Voss considered this observation carefully. "Our history is filled with conflict, it's true. We learned early that exploration and defense often go hand in hand. The Hyperion was designed to protect, but also to represent the best of what humanity can achieve." A young Australi approached, its movements conveying urgency. After a brief exchange in their native language, Talith turned to Voss. "Captain, our long-range sensors have detected multiple Raxor signatures approaching the system. Not 7 vessels this time. 23. Voss's artificial eye flashed as she processed this information. "How long until they arrive?" "Approximately 12 hours at their current velocity." "The Hyperion can be ready in 10, Voss stated flatly. "We've repaired the critical systems. The cosmetic damage can wait." Talith's skin darkened with concern. "Captain, we are grateful for your intervention before, but even your remarkable vessel cannot stand against a fleet of that size. Our defense forces combined with yours would still be overwhelmed." Voss smiled slightly. "Numbers aren't everything in warfare, emissary. Sometimes it's about changing the rules of engagement." She tapped her communications implant. "Commander Kemal, Code Omega. Senior staff to the Strategic Command Center in 30 minutes." In the Hyperion's Strategic Command Center, holographic displays showed the approaching Raxor fleet, a swarm of dark vessels moving with predatory purpose. "They've adapted their formation," Rivera noted, "spread wider to minimize the effectiveness of the Nova array against multiple targets. And their numbers would eventually overwhelm our shields, even with the Australi supporting us," Kemal added. Chief Engineer Takahashi gestured to a schematic of the Hyperion. "The good news is we've restored shield capacity to 94% and weapon systems are fully operational. The bad news is another prolonged engagement will likely result in critical systems failure." Dr. Nakamura stepped forward. "Captain, I believe I have relevant information." She manipulated the holographic display to show detailed scans of the Raxor vessels. "Their hulls appear partially organic in nature. some kind of adaptive biometal that can self-repair. But importantly, their communication system relies on quantum entanglement between vessels. Meaning? Voss prompted. Meaning they coordinate with perfect synchronization. But if we could disrupt that entanglement? Nakamura looked to Takahashi. The engineer nodded slowly. We could potentially use the quantum initiators from our FTL drive to generate a cascading interference pattern. It would temporarily disable our faster-than-light capability. But could disrupt their fleet coordination, Voss finished. How temporary it is, temporarily. 6 hours, minimum, before we could restart the quantum drive, Takahashi answered. Voss considered this. So we'd be stranded in normal space if the plan fails. Yes, Captain. She studied the tactical display for a long moment. What about combining our approach with the Astralic gravitational disruptors? Could we amplify the effect? Dr. Nakamura's eyes widened slightly. Theoretically, yes. Their technology manipulates space-time at a quantum level. If we could synchronize the disruptors with our interference pattern, we might create a quantum shockwave that would disable their entire fleet simultaneously. Takahashi finished, excitement building in his voice. How long to implement? Voss asked. 4 hours to modify our systems, Takahashi replied. But we'd need at least that long to work with the Astrali to calibrate their disruptors to our specifications. Then we'd better get started. Voss straightened. Kemal, coordinate with the Astrali fleet. Make sure they understand their role. Rivera, prepare a backup battle plan in case this doesn't work. Takahashi. Nakamura, make this happen. 8 hours later, the Hyperion and the Astrali Defense Fleet had formed a new configuration around the Amber World. The human vessel hung at the center, with Astrali ships positioned in a precise spherical formation around it. From each alien vessel, tethers of energy connected to specialized emitters that had been hastily installed on the Hyperion's hull. On the command deck, Captain Voss watched as the Raxor fleet entered the system, their black vessels absorbing the light of the local star as they approached. They're hailing us, Liu reported. Put them through, Voss ordered. The Raxor commander appeared on screen, its mantis-like features even more menacing than before. Additional cybernetic implants now covered parts of its exoskeleton, giving it an asymmetrical, cobbled-together appearance. Human vessel, it clicked. You damaged our collection fleet. Unexpected. Interesting. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Surrender now. Voss met its compound eyes steadily. We gave you a chance to retreat permanently. You chose to return with greater numbers. That was a mistake. The Raxor's mandibles clicked rapidly. Your vessel is formidable, but our analysis shows you cannot prevail against our enhanced fleet. Your destruction is mathematically certain. There's something you should know about humans, Voss replied calmly. We don't believe in no-win scenarios. We rewrite the equations. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Status of the quantum disruptor. Synchronized with all 56 Astrali vessels, Takahashi reported. Energy levels at maximum. The Raxor fleet is entering optimal range, Rivera added. Their weapons are powering up. Voss took a deep breath. All personnel, secure for potential quantum distortion. Initiate the disruptor on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute. The modified quantum initiators of the Hyperion's FTL drive activated, sending precisely calibrated energy pulses through the tethers to the Astrali vessels. As each alien ship received the pulse, their gravitational disruptors activated in perfect sequence, creating a rapidly expanding wave of quantum disruption. The effect was visually subtle, a barely perceptible ripple in space, but its impact on the Raxor fleet was immediate and dramatic. The black vessels suddenly lurched as if struck by an invisible force. Their precise formation collapsed into chaos as propulsion systems failed and weapons ports went dark. It's working, Nakamura exclaimed. The quantum entanglement between their vessels has collapsed. Weapons status, Voss demanded. Nova array at full charge, Rivera confirmed. Target their command vessel and fire. The devastating white beam lanced out, striking the largest Raxor ship directly in its central section. Without its quantum-linked defensive systems functioning properly, the alien vessel's hull offered minimal resistance. The beam cut through it like a scalpel, triggering a chain of internal explosions that tore the massive ship apart. The remaining Raxor vessels are attempting to restore their systems, Rivera reported. But they're operating independently now. No coordination. Signal the Astrali fleet, Voss ordered. Tell them to target the disabled vessels closest to their homeworld. We'll handle the outer perimeter. What followed was not so much a battle as a systematic cleanup operation. The Hyperion moved methodically through the disoriented Raxor fleet, its conventional weapons more than sufficient against the now vulnerable enemy vessels. The Astrali ships, though individually less powerful, overwhelmed their targets through coordinated attacks that the Raxor could no longer counter. Within 2 hours, 15 Raxor vessels had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 8, finally managing to restore basic systems, broke formation and fled the system, unable to achieve their faster-than-light capability due to the lingering effects of the quantum disruption. Enemy vessels retreating at sublight speeds, Rivera confirmed. At their current velocity, they'll reach the heliopause in approximately 72 hours. Let them go, Voss said. They'll carry the message back to their civilization. Captain, Lou called out, we're receiving transmissions from throughout the Astrala system, not just military channels, but civilian communications. They're celebrating. Voss allowed herself a small smile. Open a channel to High Emissary Talith. The Astrali leader appeared on screen, its skin pulsing with vibrant patterns of gold and blue that needed no translation to understand their joy. Captain Voss, you have done the impossible twice now. The Raxor have terrorized our sector for generations, yet you defeated them with a strategy none of our scientists would have conceived. It was a joint effort, Voss replied. Your gravitational technology was the key component. We merely adapted it to a new purpose. This is what makes your species unique, Talith observed. Where we see established patterns, you see new possibilities. Where we build incrementally, you leap forward. It is both terrifying and inspiring. The Astrali skin shifted to a more formal pattern. The Astrali High Council has convened an emergency session. We wish to propose a formal alliance with your Earth. We have much to offer each other, and together, we can stand against threats like the Raxor. Voss nodded. I